Okay, so get this. I was looking at this guy the other day from Director's Corner, and honestly, it was a total eye-opener for me. It's all about digital legacies, like what happens to all our online stuff when we die. I gotta say, it really got me thinking, like, this is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend so much time online these days
Right.
building these digital lives, but most of us haven't even considered what happens to it all after we're gone.
It's true.
I bet most funeral homes aren't talking to their clients about this either.
I would agree with that.
Like, it's just not something that comes up naturally in those conversations,
Yeah, it's kind of uncharted territory in a lot of ways.
But this guide, it lays it all out so clearly. I think it's something every funeral home should be sharing with families.
I think you're right.
Because really, it's like an essential part of end-of-life planning these days.
It is, and it's something that's becoming more and more relevant as our lives move increasingly online.
Exactly. And Director's Corner also has this blog post on their website that I thought was really helpful too. It dives into the bigger picture of why digital legacies are so important, which I thought provided a great foundation. So for this deep dive, I thought it'd be great to really unpack this guide.
Okay, sounds good.
And explore why it's such a valuable resource, especially for funeral professionals.
Definitely.
I mean, you're the ones walking families through incredibly difficult times, and this guide could really be a lifeline for them in navigating all this digital stuff.
It could. It's a really practical tool.
So to kick things off, I'm curious, what were some of your initial takeaways from the guide?
Well, right off the bat, the guide starts with this question. Did you know most people don't realize how extensive their digital footprint really is?
And it's true.
It is. I mean, think about it. The average person has social media accounts, email accounts, online shopping accounts, banking, photos, videos.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and it all adds up to this massive digital footprint that most people just don't think about.
And it's not just the volume of stuff, it's the value of it too.
Yeah, exactly. That's a key point.
Like, think about all the important information that's tied to our digital lives. Financial records, insurance policies, even cryptocurrency.
Right. All that is crucial stuff.
And for families dealing with a loss, not having access to that information could be a nightmare.
Absolutely.
I was imagining a scenario where a family needs to access a bank account to cover funeral expenses.
Right.
But they have no idea how to get in because the deceased never shared their passwords or login information.
Oh, that would be awful.
It would be.
And unfortunately, it's something that happens more often than you might think.
I bet.
It really highlights the importance of having these conversations beforehand and making sure things are organized.
That's so true. And it's not just about the practical stuff either.
No,
There's a huge emotional value tied to our digital assets as well. Think about photos and videos. Those are irreplaceable memories.
Mm-hmm.
And for grieving families, being able to access those can be incredibly healing.
It can be a real source of comfort.
And I love how Director's Corner puts it in their guide. They say, don't leave your digital afterlife to chance.
I like that.
It's such a powerful statement.
It is.
Because really, it's a call to action. It's like they're saying, hey, this is important. Take control of your digital legacy.
Exactly. Don't wait until it's too late.
And I think funeral directors, given your role in supporting families through loss,
right,
you're in a unique position to help them answer that call. So the guide does a great job of laying out this path forward.
It does.
Like how to actually take control of your digital legacy.
Yep.
And one of the first things they emphasize is taking inventory.
Okay.
Like literally making a list of all your online accounts, which honestly sounds a bit daunting.
I was just thinking that it seems like a lot.
Right. But they really stress the importance of including even those accounts that might seem insignificant.
Right, the ones you don't use very often.
Exactly, because you never know what might hold sentimental value or contain crucial information later on.
That's a good point.
And I thought their suggestion of using a password manager was brilliant.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, it's such a simple tool.
It is.
But it can make a world of difference for families.
It can.
Instead of having to scramble for passwords during an already emotional time, they have everything neatly organized and accessible in one place.
It takes away so much stress and hassle.
Exactly. It's all about removing those unnecessary burdens, isn't it?
It is.
And speaking of organization, the guide also talks about wrangling all those digital files.
Oh, yeah, the photos and videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to find a specific photo on someone else's computer?
Oh, it can be a nightmare.
It's like searching for a needle in a haystack.
It really is.
So the guide encourages families to go beyond just dumping everything into one giant folder.
Okay.
And instead create folders that tell a story, like family vacations, grandma's recipes, things like that. It makes those files so much more meaningful and easier to navigate.
And it turns digital clutter into a curated collection of memories.
Exactly. It's beautiful, really.
It is.
And I think this is where funeral professionals can provide real value to families. By offering this guide and having these conversations, you're not just providing information, you're offering peace of mind.
You're absolutely right.
It's like saying, hey, we know this is a lot to think about, but we're here to help you through it.
And that kind of support is invaluable during a time of loss.
It really is. So much to think about with this whole digital legacy thing.
It is. It's a whole new world.
But I feel like we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to explore.
Definitely.
So let's dig a little deeper and talk about how funeral professionals can actually use this guide to help families.
Sounds good.
What kinds of questions or concerns might come up in those conversations?
That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great place to start because every family's different, right?
Right.
And their comfort level with technology is going to vary a lot, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Some might be totally tech savvy, while others might feel like they're completely lost.
You know, and let's be real for a second.
Yeah.
Death is already a super difficult topic to talk about.
It is.
So bringing up digital legacy planning on top of that,
Right.
it can feel kind of awkward
Oh, yeah.
or even intrusive in a way.
I can see that.
Like, who wants to think about passwords and online accounts when they're grieving?
Nobody. But that's why it's so important to have these conversations beforehand.
That's true.
You know, to take that burden off of families when they're already going through so much.
Exactly, because wouldn't it be so much worse to have to deal with a forgotten password or a locked account
Yes.
on top of everything else?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's where this guide can be so helpful. It's like it gives families a starting point,
Right.
a roadmap for how to navigate all this digital stuff.
Yeah, it breaks it down step by step.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off of having to figure it all out on their own.
And it really empowers families to take control.
It does. So what are some of the practical questions that families might have about this stuff?
Well, there are so many.
I bet.
Like, what happens to online banking accounts if there's no designated beneficiary?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or how do you make sure someone can access email accounts after a person passes away? Things like that.
And it's not just about access either.
No, you're right.
It's about security, too.
Yeah.
You know, what if someone's worried about identity theft or their loved one's accounts being misused?
That's a huge concern.
It is. And the guide addresses those concerns.
It does.
You know, by stressing strong passwords and two-factor authentication and things like that.
Right. Things that many people might not even be aware of.
Oh, for sure. And then there's social media.
Yeah.
That seems like a whole other can of worms.
It really is.
You know, some people might want their loved ones' profiles memorialized,
Right.
while others might want them deleted entirely.
Exactly. It's a very personal decision.
And thankfully, the guide outlines the different options available.
It does.
You know, for Facebook and Instagram and all the different platforms.
Right. It walks you through the process.
But I think the key takeaway is that families need to understand those options and feel empowered to make the choice that aligns with their loved one's wishes.
I agree. Communication is so important.
It is. You know, this brings up something I was thinking about.
Yeah.
What if family members disagree about what should happen to a loved one's digital assets?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right. Especially if there's no clear documentation of their wishes.
It's a recipe for conflict, unfortunately.
It is. And I bet it happens more often than we realize.
It does, and it can cause a lot of stress and tension within families.
That's why I think this guide's emphasis on communication and planning is so important.
Absolutely. Having those conversations beforehand
Yeah.
and creating a digital estate plan or a letter of instruction can really help to minimize those potential conflicts down the road.
You know, I've never heard of a digital estate plan before.
Have you not?
What is that exactly?
Well, it's basically a roadmap for your digital assets.
Okay.
You can specify who gets access to what should be deleted, any other specific instructions you might have.
Gotcha.
It's like a will, but for your online life.
That makes so much sense. Now, I know some funeral professionals listening might be thinking,
Yeah.
hold on, I'm not a tech expert.
I was going to say that.
Right, like, how am I supposed to answer all these complicated questions?
That's a valid concern.
But honestly, the beauty of this guide is that it does the heavy lifting for you.
It does. You don't need to be a tech whiz to use it effectively.
Right. It provides clear explanations.
It does.
Step-by-step instructions, even links to additional resources.
Yeah.
So really, your role as a funeral professional is to be a facilitator,
Right.
a guide,
You're there to listen, offer support,
Yep.
and connect families with the information they need.
So it's more about being a resource hub
Yeah,
than a tech guru.
exactly. You don't need to have all the answers.
And that's something every funeral professional can do,
Absolutely.
regardless of their technical expertise.
And think about the value you're providing.
Yeah.
Families are already going through so much.
They are.
The last thing they need is to be bombarded with technical jargon.
Right.
So by offering this guide and a compassionate ear, you're really making a difference in their lives.
You are. Okay, so we've covered the basics here.
Yeah.
But what about the more complex side of digital legacies? You know, things like online businesses, cryptocurrency holdings,
Right.
even intellectual property. Those can get pretty tricky, right?
Oh, absolutely. Those are situations where seeking legal advice might be necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because estate laws are still catching up to the realities of the digital age.
They are.
And it's important for families to understand their rights and obligations when it comes to those types of assets.
So even though funeral directors might not be legal experts,
Right.
they can still play a vital role in guiding families towards those resources.
Right.
You know, maybe you have a network of trusted attorneys you can recommend, or you can point them towards organizations that specialize in digital estate planning.
That's a great idea.
So it's about building a support system,
It is.
a team of professionals who can help families navigate these complex issues.
Right. It takes a village.
It really does. It's like being a one-stop shop for all things end of life, including the digital side of things.
I like that. It really captures the essence of what we're talking about.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that it's not just about practicalities and legalities.
No, you're right.
It's about preserving memories, honoring legacies,
Right.
and providing comfort during a difficult time.
Exactly. Those are the things that really matter.
You know, and thinking about it, there's a beautiful side to all of this too.
There is.
Like, imagine a family discovering a collection of online photos or videos that they never knew existed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It could be such a precious gift,
It could.
a way to connect with their loved one in a whole new way.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is. And it really highlights the power of digital legacies.
It does.
They're not just files and passwords.
Right.
They're pieces of a person's life, their story.
Their story, exactly.
What? And by helping families navigate this new landscape, funeral professionals are playing a crucial role in preserving those stories
Absolutely.
for future generations.
It's an incredible responsibility.
It is. Okay, so we've talked a lot about digital legacies in this deep dive,
We have.
and it's clear they're a big deal.
Yeah.
But how can funeral homes actually incorporate this Director's Corner guide into their services?
Well, the first step is making the guide accessible.
Okay.
Have printed copies in your reception area. Offer a downloadable version on your website. Include it in pre-planning packets.
Right.
It's really about, normalizing the conversation.
Right.
Showing families that you're aware of these issues.
I like that.
It's like saying, hey, we get it. This digital stuff is important, and we're here to help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But what about actively bringing it up in conversations with families?
absolutely. During consultations or pre-planning meetings, just take a few minutes to explain why this guide is so valuable. Maybe even share a quick story, I recently spoke with a family who couldn't access a loved one's travel rewards points
Oh, wow.
because the account wasn't documented. It could have really helped cover funeral costs.
That's a good one.
This guide helps prevent those kinds of situations.
Yeah, because when you make it real like that,
Right.
it's not just a hypothetical problem anymore.
Exactly. It becomes something that could actually happen to them.
Right.
And again, you don't have to be a tech expert to have these conversations. The guide provides all the details.
It does.
Your role is to be a compassionate listener
Right.
and guide those families toward the information they need.
Gotcha. So we've got making the guide visible, and we've got having those one-on-one conversations. What other, creative ways can funeral homes incorporate this into their services?
Well, think bigger. How about hosting a workshop or a seminar on digital legacy planning?
I like that.
You could even invite a guest speaker, maybe an estate planning attorney, a tech expert, or someone from a digital legacy service.
Right. That makes it more of an event.
Exactly. It positions the funeral home as a resource for the entire community,
Right.
not just for those directly dealing with a loss.
That's a good point.
And it creates a comfortable space where people can learn and ask questions without feeling pressured.
You could even partner with local senior centers,
Yes.
community organizations, or even libraries to reach a wider audience.
Exactly. Partnering is a great way to spread the word.
It is. So what about referrals?
Referrals are key. Connect with local tech experts, estate planning attorneys, digital legacy services.
Right.
Build a network of trusted professionals
Yeah.
that you can recommend to families based on their needs.
Because sometimes people just need a little nudge to get started,
I
right?
do.
So what about marketing? Like, how can funeral homes use marketing to spread the word about these services?
We'll start by adding a section on your website or social media
Okay.
about digital legacy planning, share blog posts, create infographics,
Right.
maybe even film short videos explaining the basics
Okay.
and how the Director's Corner Guide can help.
And don't forget about email marketing.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, a simple newsletter
Right?
with a link to the guide or an invitation for a free consultation
That's a great idea.
could go a long way.
It's all about staying top of mind and letting people know that you're there to help.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just attracting new clients, right?
It does.
It's about deepening relationships with your existing clients,
Absolutely.
showing them that you're committed to meeting their evolving needs.
Exactly. Being a lifelong resource.
It's powerful stuff.
It is.
And as technology keeps changing, the need for this kind of support is only going to grow.
It is. It's not going away.
So it sounds like the digital afterlife.
Yeah.
It's not a fringe concept anymore.
It's not. It's a reality.
It's something that every funeral professional needs to be prepared to address.
100%.
By embracing this and incorporating resources like this Director's Corner Guide into their services,
Yeah.
funeral homes can really make a difference.
They can.
You know, offer invaluable support to families during such a difficult time.
Absolutely.
And position themselves as trusted guides in this, like, ever-evolving digital landscape.
Well said.
You know, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's not just about managing data. It's about honoring lives, preserving memories,
Right.
and making sure that those legacies live on in the physical world and in the digital one.
I love that. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's been great chatting with you about all of this. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And I hope our listeners feel, more equipped
Yeah.
to tackle the digital afterlife with confidence and compassion.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.